All right. Hello, everyone. Happy Monday. And welcome again to another Facebook Live. This is the face and the voice of Dr. Tulola Bintom. I'm the CEO and the co founder of Living Spring Family Medical Center here in the beautiful city of Mansfield, Texas, where we help our patients live long and well because we believe the quality of life is just as important as the quantity of life. I'm excited to be doing another Facebook Live now on a Monday evening. For those of you who didn't watch, we were supposed to be live last Thursday, and so we had to do a reschedule. And so today we'll be talking about harnessing the power of positive peer pressure, a path to personal growth. And I'm very excited today to be having this discussion. And some of you may be wondering, well, why are you talking about this? Well, I've got to say, I'm a testimony to what positive peer pressure can do. I think, when I think, studies even show that if the people you hang out with determine um, determine your outcome. You're more likely to do the right things if you have people around you doing the right things. And so today I wanted to bring on a guest who is a young man, someone I know who's an author, a musician, an athlete who has not only become, an author who's a student, but also a musician, and he's an athlete as well. So he's doing a lot of things. And I wanted him to share his story to see if he could encourage my viewers. Now, obviously, anyone can watch this live, but I'll be honest, this one is targeted for my young folks. So if you know a young person who could use some positive peer pressure encouragement, please, by all means, I would like you to tag them. You can forward this to them. And of course, if you're watching live, hashtag live. If you're watching in replay, hashtag replay. So I'm happy to I'm going to bring him up front. He's a young man by the name of Dumkelechukwu Idehen. You know what? I'm going to let him introduce himself, and then he's also going to. I also going to ask him to kind of tell us the meaning of his name as well. Okay. All right. Let me bring him back to up to the stage. Hi,
Hey, how
Dumke.
you doing? I'm good. How you doing?
Good. Good. Nice to see you.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Thank you for having me.
Oh, my pleasure. So I was just talking about you real briefly and kind of introducing this topic.
Mm.
I see that you have a way of harnessing some positive peer pressure just based on the outcomes you've produced so far. I'm
Mm-hmm.
proud of you, and I wanted to showcase you to my viewers to perhaps encourage another young person, or maybe not so young person, based on your story. Now, that being said, can you kindly introduce yourself? Who are you, and what do
Almost
you
definitely.
do?
Like you said, my name is Dumkelechukwu. That's my full name. I know I go by Dumkele. Osamujame is actually my Eshan name. My mom's Eshan.
Okay.
And my dad is Ika. So, in Nigeria, Ika, you take the tribe of your father. So that's my father's tribe. I was actually born in Nigeria. I was born on March 25th, 2004 in, Nigeria, moved to United States in 2008. So that's where my life began in the United States. I grew up in South Carolina. I lived on the border of North and South Carolina, so kind of like the Charlotte area. If anybody's familiar with the North Carolina area, I grew up in Fort Mill, South Carolina. I went to Indian Land High School, and just recently I graduated. I'm class of 2022.
Whoop, whoop.
Yeah, graduated Indian Land High School, and now I'm an athlete here, Division I football player at Towson University up in Towson, Maryland. So yeah, that's a little bit about myself.
That's a lot about yourself, and I'm so proud of you. How your dedication, your consistency, and you didn't mention that you're also. I know you told your story as far as you coming here, but you're an author. Can
Yes,
can we
ma'am.
deep dive into that? Why did you write a book?
Yes, ma'am. I published my first book back in December. It released December 19th, 2022. It's titled My Journey to Becoming. You know, it was really my mother that encouraged me to write, this book. I never saw myself as anything close to an author. I was always somebody that likes to journal, intuitive, things like that. But I never saw like putting the whole book out there. My story from coming from Africa, from Nigeria to the United States, and all the trials and tribulations that we went through, but also the victories that we accomplished along the way. My family, all of us, my older brother and my younger sister, and my two parents and my grandmother, all of us in one house, just being carried, throughout life and all the things that we learned throughout life. But most definitely, my journey to becoming, coming from Nigeria, and it's circumferenced around football, but I feel like the general message of the book, surpasses more than just a sport. and surpasses just, beyond the youth. Because I feel like I target the youth because, being a youthful person myself, I feel like I have a lot of things to target towards the youth, but my story is not only, restricted to, youthful people. I feel like anybody who reads my story and learns about myself and the things that I went through, but the principles that I applied, not only biblical principles, but, life morals, principles that you do. I feel like that's the thing that I want people to grasp from, when you get trials in your life, when you get tribulations, how do you handle that? How do you handle adversity? Like, do you sit down and cry about it, or do you pick your head up and you find out a result and you figure out what you're gonna do about it? You know what I'm saying, just things like that. Just in the nutshell, what my book's about. But my mom, she really motivated me to write it.
Go
She was like,
mom.
dude, she was like, yeah, go mom, go, go mom. She was like, Dumkele, this life I live in, you should sit down and write about it. One thing about me is like, I'm somebody who likes to maximize opportunities. My mom, she said, write a book. I was like, no, that doesn't sound like a bad idea. Originally I was starting to write it back in, let's call it like January, February. I was a senior in high school, so I had an extra class period. I had a lot of free time. So, like by like 10:30, I'm done with classes for the whole day. I just played sports. I could have early enrolled in college, but I was like, let me just ride this last semester at high school level.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, go to prom, do all the, I ran track, just to sentiment the whole thing and just to have, a last sustainable year. But that free time that I had after my first block, I was like, maybe I should listen to my mother and sit down and write the book. I went to the library at 10:30 every morning after my first period. I remember I took problem and statistics. I took after statistics class, I went straight to the library, and I finished the book. And let's call it 2.5 months. I was trying to finish it before my birthday, which was March 25th. So from like January, I wasn't even trying to do a whole book. You know what I'm saying? I was trying to do like Amazon PDF kind of thing. You're like, hey guys, check out this little book I got online. I was like, no. You're going to do something, you better do it all the way. She was like,
Do
go
it
call
very
a
well.
publisher.
Excellent.
Yeah, I showed her. I was like, Mom, I'm done. She was like, done with what? I showed her the whole like. I said, I'm done. She said, wait. She told us to go call the publisher, go, reaching out to people, people that we knew who wrote books. And then she was like, that's when the ball started rolling. And it was a really long process. Nothing good happens overnight. So after we started publishing about like March, April, I finished the publication process in about October. I say it took me about roughly 6 or 7 months, and then I started doing advertisement from October, November, December.
Wow.
2019. So yeah, that was a really good way to end off 2022, and now I'm just living in the fruit of that.
Awesome. So today our biggest topic is we're talking positive peer pressure, and I'll give you a little prefix to that. So people talk about peer pressure usually in a negative light, where you hang around with wrong folks and you end up doing stuff that's not so smart and you get in trouble, blah blah blah. And so we're talking positive peer pressure because I want to see how this may have influenced the outcomes you've seen so far. So what is positive peer pressure to you, Dumkele?
I feel like positive peer pressure is the internal conviction to better yourself, better your morals and your characteristics. Peer pressure is talked amongst youth. There's peer pressure. People talk in school. Peer pressure to do drugs. Peer pressure to drink alcohol. When you get into high school, around that age when people start making decisions for themselves. But positive peer pressure is the conviction that you get from your environment, not only people, but the places that you surround yourself around, the things that you surround yourself around, the things that you put in your mind, the things that you watch that personally convicts you to better yourself. That can include, building up daily habits, changing your vocabulary, just being just more of an integral person, somebody with, substantial characteristics that, ultimately force you to be a better person.
And the thing about it is just like negative peer pressure is passive. I mean, no one says, "Oh yeah, I'm going to go hang out with bad folks so I could do some dumb stuff." No one says that. It just kind of happens passively. But can you shed a little light on how positive peer pressure examples, like who are people you surrounded yourself that you would say has helped lead to this outcome? Because no one is self-made. So tell me about that.
Okay, so personally for me, I grew up in church, so there were a lot of positive role models that I had around myself, such as youth pastors, mentors, and in the church you find a lot of grown men who really like to take the opportunity to govern youth and take them as their mentees. I have found a lot of even teachers, the teachers that I still talk to this day. I really try to focus on governing relationships. I feel like that's one of my most active traits that I take part of, because you never know what a relationship could be. My teacher in high school, I still relate with him to this day. There's, numerous podcasts, numerous talks that I have with him beyond the classrooms. And that's just an example of positive peer pressure. It doesn't necessarily have to be people who are your peers. It could be older people who you look up to. At the end of the day, pressure comes from what's surrounded around you. You don't get pressured by something that's not even in your vicinity, right? So if something is close to you, you're going to feel pressure, whether it's positive or negative. So if you surround yourself with people who are, instilling positive traits inside of you, such as, honesty, discipline, diligence, things like that, it's like you're eventually going to subdue to whatever they're instilling inside of you, because that's how we are by human nature. The Bible talks about, I like to apply biblical principles to the life that I live, especially Proverbs, because it's so applicable. It doesn't really have, the necessity of spirituality. I feel like a lot of people really tie, they take the Bible as something that is like, you have to do it this way, exactly this way. I feel like the Bible is a set of principles and instilled by God for us to live on earth. People have these ideas that, things such like Proverbs. Let's take Proverbs, for example. Proverbs, something that I like to think about is, I see the Bible as, people talk about the Bible as basic instructions before leaving earth. And then when you tie that spirituality in it with the Holy Spirit and God and things like that, that is when it becomes the catalyze. You know what I'm saying? You take the principles that you have on earth, and then the faith only enacts it even more. That's how I look at it. Because I believe in faith so much. I feel like faith is something that things hope for, evidence of things not saying, yeah. But it's like, how do you apply that to yourself? How do you apply that to the life that you live? You know what I'm saying? And one verse that I really looked at before I came on this that really talks about peer pressure is in Proverbs. It talks about, walk with the wise and become wise.
Become wise.
Companion of fools suffers great harm. The thing I noticed about that, I really like to read the Bible, very, meticulously, because I don't feel like God made a mistake when he spoke the words into the people who govern the Bible.
Right.
It says a companion of fools will suffer great harm, not the fullness of the people who just put themselves around fools. So if you have negative peer pressure, like, applicable to what we're talking about, negative peer pressure around you, you not even only become a fool, but you become destroyed. It's a fool, and companion fool suffers great harm. Like, you eventually, all the good things that you build up in life, if you even have a bad circle, it goes to ruin because of the circle that you keep around yourself. But I feel like vice versa. It says walk wise and become wise. So if you walk with people who know what they're doing, if you walk with people who have, kind of a vision of what their life wants to look like, if you walk with people who are honest, walk with people who are, integral, walk with people who have, good principles that they apply to life, the same thing is going to fold on you, because you have to do to that positive peer pressure.
By default. I love it. Now, someone who's watching who's saying, well, sometimes I feel a little intimidated because, there's pressure from the, positive peer pressure. The pressure is intentional. So someone who's watching who's like, well, sometimes I feel a little intimidated because I feel like I'm not as good as they, or I'm not, especially when they're colleagues or their classmates or they're people who you feel like should be at the same level as you are. And they're doing the big things. And there's a challenge that, I feel a little, the person feels a little insecure or feels a little threatened, or I don't know the best choice of words, but you feel a little like, I want to avoid these people because they make me feel bad, or they make me feel less. What would you say to that person who's watching, who's like, I know I have options to pick positive peer pressure, but the pressure seems too much, and I feel a little like, ugh, man, I just want to be comfortable in my own bubble. How would you encourage that person to kind of come
and
out?
Honestly, there's going to be parts in our life where things do feel uncomfortable, but I encourage, people to embrace uncomfortability, because uncomfortability really exposes the tendencies that you have that, need to be worked on. You put yourself in a room where people may do some things better than you. That doesn't have, a negative light on yourself. It only shows you what you need to improve on. And once you're in a room where people are doing things, it's like, oh, maybe I do need to work on that. You're not only bettering yourself, but the people around you. So if you see positive, peer pressure as something that is kind of icky good, it's supposed to be icky, right? If you put yourself around people who are, in a higher scale than you, then you not only, rise to the scale, but you can also surpass them, because you also have things that you have that they may not have. You can look at it like this, like everybody has their own individual gifts that God has blessed them with. Nobody is exactly like another person. Everybody is their own individual human being, right? They all have their own tendencies that are unique to them. So if you really do some self-evaluation and see what are my colleagues doing that I'm not doing as good? You can also flip it. Like I always like to flip things, what's the good side, what's the bad side, right?
Right.
There's some things that you're doing that make you don't even know. They may, talk about you behind your back and say that, she does this so good, he does this so good. I wish I was just like him or her, you know what I'm saying? And just same way you're thinking about them, they can also think about you like that. So it shouldn't be a comparison thing, contrast thing between you and somebody else. It should be more a self-evaluation aspect of maybe they're doing something well that I do need to work on. And once you look at it like that, that gives you room to do, some self-development.
Awesome. Awesome. Very powerful. And I want to encourage, the mindset that, stay in rooms that are uncomfortable. Otherwise, you're not growing. If every room you sit in or everywhere you are, you're the best. And I'm not saying avoid people who may need your help. You're not growing. And it's amazing. Studies have shown that a lot of people, by the time they've actually are near death or died, 90% of their brain capacity has not been used.
90%. Wow.
90%, not even 50, 90%. So I want to encourage everyone who has a dream in their heart. I believe that God has dropped in, and that's something that's still waiting to unfold. I want to encourage you to get a little uncomfortable because therein lies growth. In the company of people who are doing well, you can learn a few things. You can learn a lot actually, and not have to learn the process the longer way. You can get shortcuts when you have the right positive peer pressure. So, all right. So let's talk real quick about negative peer pressure. All right.
Mhm.
I feel like there's a constant tug. So could you give examples of ways you've resisted negative peer? I'm not saying you're perfect, but ways that you have helped yourself. And it's so interesting. This thing applies to every area, even when it comes to healthy eating, when it comes to someone who's trying to run a business, someone who's going to school. These principles apply. But what are ways that you have been able to kind of deviate or defer, of kind of push away negative peer pressure and balance it with more positive? I want you to give practical tips because people are like, yeah, I get it, but how you do it? How do you do it?
Well, for somebody individually, I'm gonna go to myself personally after I pull up this basis of resisting against negative peer pressure comes down to who you are internally. What morals do you stand by? What principles do you abide by? If you know that X, Y, and Z is not what I do, it comes down to how strong your root is. You grow up in your household and people say, train up a child in the way they should go, and when they leave, they won't go off of it,
Mm,
right? So when you leave, I'm a practical example right now. I'm in college, and everybody knows what happens in college. People drink, people smoke, people do all kinds of things that sometimes you look at it as like, dang, this is what my mom told me exactly what not to do. So it's like, should I abide or should I, indulge? And it's that question that goes off in your head every single time that you see those things. And I know that my root was built so substantially that that's an easy no for me. It's okay. I know not to do that. I know not to do
mm,
that because of, the consistent buildup that I had, over the course of the years growing up. So for me, resisting negative peer pressure comes down to how strong my root is. Like, how strong is your root? If you're easily swayed by what everybody does, then negative peer pressure is going to be something that you face
mm,
every single day, even from the little things. Hey, let's skip class. Okay. Like, you have to think about, should I skip class or should I go to class? But if you're boot up a route that, I got to be diligent in my schoolwork, I got to be diligent in what I do, I have to be present so I know that I can get a successful grade in this class. Skip class. What are you talking about, bro? I'm going to class. You know what I'm saying? Like, that shouldn't even be a question. Hey, let's go do this. Let's go do that. There's a no internal judgment that goes on in your head. Should I do this? Should I not? And the more that you build up your characteristics, the more that you build up your integrity, that internal judgment clock, it ticks faster. It doesn't take you as much to think about
mm,
things
mm,
that should
mm,
be an easy
mm.
no. But if you don't have that substantiability, that no becomes delayed. And the more it becomes delayed, the more it becomes a maybe. The maybe
Yeah,
turns into
yeah,
a
yeah, that's true.
and then the turns, you will eventually find yourself doing it and then becomes a habit. And then you find yourself down the bad road. That's where it calls for destruction. That's where it says, companion of the fool suffers great harm. It might not happen overnight. It might not happen the first week, but slowly feel yourself dropping. Slowly see yourself, indulging the habits that you never thought you would because of that negative peer pressure that just kept, do this, do this. Eventually, it's gonna break. Even if your wall is a wall, it depends on how big your wall can defend things.
Mm,
Paper versus metal. Something such as a pencil can stick right through paper, but a pencil itself is gonna crack if it's hit against metal. If you just poke a pencil through paper, there's going to be a hole, and you keep poking it, the whole paper is going to rip. Imagine building up your mind as a callus for negative peer pressure. the more that I say no, the more saying no is going to be easier. I just feel like building up the resistance against negative peer pressure all depends on the substantiability of your integrity and your ability to just do what's right and be diligent.
I love it. I love it. Say no quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Say no quickly.
As fast as you can.
As fast as you can, and you build that muscle. Ha! I like it. I like it. I like it. So you have this book. Um, oh my goodness, how does the name evade me? Becoming.
Mm-hmm. My journey to becoming.
My journey to becoming. So I have people here who are wondering, like, what should they expect when they're like, what should they look out for when
Mm-hmm.
they're reading this book? Because I want to encourage people to buy this book. I'm really impressed by you. I've seen you from afar and a little close to my interaction with you, and I want to encourage people through you, through your life. I'm going to ask you questions about the book, but before I go through that, I want to ask you a question that may throw you off some, but let's see. What are some of the challenges, or what has you know leaning into positive peer pressure cost you? Because let's be honest, it can be hard making
Yes.
the right decisions over and over again. It's easier when you're surrounded by people who are headed the same way you are, who think like you, or who are driven too. So, or who have already mastered the good habits. But what would that cost you? I want us to talk about the inconvenience and of doing the things.
Man. I would say it cost me a lot of things, but above all else, I say it cost me my will. Like we all have the will to do like the things that we want to do, but when you start, making positive peer pressure a habit, there's some things that you just have to do regardless of what you want to or not. There's going to be days where I want to do something and it's like I'm not gonna lie, I'm not feeling that today. But like I said, the substantiability that I built up says you don't have an option. Like that has to be done. You know what I'm saying? The substantial that I build up, it says, hey, maybe I do want to do that with my friends this one time, and your will starts to take in place. But besides from your will, there's something behind it, that tells that will like, nah, we can't do that. So I feel like the will can go to so many branches. Will can go into, your own, individual desires, your own, individual lusts, things like that. But at the end of the day, will is what I want to do versus what has to be done. And I feel like that's the biggest thing that people just don't have the will to do some things that need to get done. People, and then beyond that, people have the will, but they don't want to take action. Like the action isn't there that they have. They don't have enough willpower. They don't have enough kinetic faith. They don't have enough kinetic energy to push through that first one. Because I feel like once you make a thing a habit, it's going to be harder to break that habit than to keep going. Like it's just so many things that I've done in my life. I just feel like, bro, I'm tired. Like I'm tired. And then my will is like, oh, I want to quit. But the substantiability that I built up over those years, like I'm not gonna lie, you're too far to turn around now. So it's like the power behind me trying to quit overrides my will to not do what I want to do.
Wow.
So I feel like that's just the biggest thing that has just given away like my will. Sometimes like I just do things even though I don't want to do them just for the simple fact that they have to get done. And I feel like that's the biggest thing, biggest sacrifice in wanting to abide to positive peer pressure.
You give up your will. That is powerful, and I think that's essentially what the life of faith is about.
Mhm.
You give up your will. And so, for those of you who are watching, this is very powerful. We should take time to rewatch this again. A lot of nuggets have been dropped. Dumkele talks very fast. I thought I was a fast talker, but you dropped a lot of gems. You know, it's the habit. It's in the habit. It's in practicing the no. It's in practicing those uncomfortable early morning runs, early morning workouts, saying no to donut and eating more green stuff, even though sometimes they're squishy. Is doing the things over and over again so they're able to build up that tolerance. I think you also are kind of naturally motivated. You strike me as someone who's naturally motivated too. So that's good. So going back to the book, The Journey to Becoming, what should viewers or the readers look forward um, to reading when they get this book? Because you can't tell us a
um,
good thing because we have to get the book. But
yeah, most definitely. Sorry about that. Most definitely, they should look forward to practical examples. I feel like, people read a book and then after you read like a self-help book, it's like, okay, how does that have to do anything with me? Like how can I apply this to the life that I live right now? And I feel like there's things that happen to me that happen for me to express myself to other people. Like people fail to realize that this life that they live isn't really about them. Like they're individual. There's a lot of individualism in this world that allows people to just close their lenses and see that your life and your success may be the catalyst for somebody else's success. And I feel like even vice versa, like I said, flipping things, my problems and my challenges and my trials may be what somebody else needs, to just take another step, just take one more, and that one more might be the breakthrough they were looking for. So I definitely feel like, when you read my book, you see what I went through, and you may use that as motivation for yourself for whatever trials and tribulations that you have going on in your individual life. So, and then when you do that, when you face your own individual trials and tribulations, it might be your cousin, it might be your little brother, it might be your dad, it might be your mom. When your mom does that, it's just an ongoing chain of see something and get something done. And when someone sees me get something done, they have the motivation to get it done. So just when you read my book, you will see the hardship that I went through and the trials that I overcame to be in the spot where I am right now. To see that as yourself, like see yourself in my shoes. What would you do if you were in my situation? If I apply the things that if you apply the things that I did, hopefully the results that you get, surpass mine. You know what I'm saying? This is only motivation to people who read it and to surpass what I do. And then once you surpass that, I really hope that people will see you and they surpass you. So it's just an ongoing chain of greatness surpassing greatness, greatness surpassing greatness. So
That's right.
That's what you can get when you read my book.
That's right. That's what makes the world a better place. Wow, this is really good. I'm so happy we did this. Um, I'm glad we got a second chance at this because this is really, really good. I've put the link or the name of the book as well. Also in the comment, my virtual assistant has done that as well, so people can connect with you. But
Mhm.
Dumkelechukwu,
Yes,
how can people connect with you? Either also to have you come on their platforms to encourage other young folks and not so young folks as well.
ma'am.
If people follow you, how can they reach out to you? Should you allow that? Where
Oh
can
yeah.
we find you?
Most definitely. I'm open for anything. I have an Instagram. My Instagram is Dumkele.Idehen. That is Dumkele.Idehen. My book is available on Amazon, and I also have a website, Dumkele Idehen. That's my first and last name.com. So on that website, you can find mostly everything that you need about me regarding information, socials, and how to reach and contact me. And also, I have a link to purchase my book that once I send to you will be signed.
Oh, awesome, awesome. Dumkele, thank you so much for doing this. This is so good. This
Thank
was
you
so
so
good.
much.
This
I
was so
appreciate you,
good.
Dr. Tully. Thank you for having
Oh, my pleasure. And we'll do this again maybe in a couple of months.
me.
Another way we can encourage our viewers to learn something that improves their quality of life and quantity of life. Because when people do big things and find fulfillment, that's a life lived well. So
Yes,
thank
ma'am.
you again, man.
Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you all for watching. Those of you who watch live, those of you who watch and replay. As always, caring is sharing. I say this all the time. And I have a favor to ask. Can you guys subscribe? Subscribe, like this. Let us know if these information or these things we're talking about actually make a difference in your life. It actually encourages us to keep going. Okay. And it also spreads the message. And as always, if you or anyone you know is looking for a doctor who's thorough, who's passionate, and who is caring, I will have conversations like this to help you live long and well. I am she. Have a good one, everyone.
Bye
Dumkelechukwu.
bye.
See you soon, okay?
Bye bye.
Bye. Bye. Don't